Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Report Out. Well done for finding the change of venue. But everyone's sat over there for some reason. But I'm delighted to welcome colleagues who are both presenting and reporting out, as well as receiving Lean for Leader certification. Just advance warning, I have to be on the 1 shuttle, I am sorry. So Yvette will pick up, or Simon will pick up the baton at that point. Let's start with, it's exciting, RPIW been going on, pharmacy value stream, dispensing a medicine for inpatients. So the team are here, which is great, and I'm going to ask Catherine and Helen to come forward and introduce the team and hear about the great work you've been doing this week. Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Hello, my name is Helen Gilbert. I'm the Kaizen Promotion Office lead, and I've also had the pleasure of being both workshop lead this week and also in the process of certifying Catherine through her process being able to deliver improvement work in her own right. So it's been a challenging week. This is an important moment in time because this is the first value stream and rapid process improvement work week that's being done outside of the trust value stream. So this is pharmacy taking up the mantle to continue to manage their own improvement work internally. Some of you may remember back to Friday the 21st of June, where we heard about Harry's story. 33,000 doses of medication are given out in our organisation every day, but 207 doses somewhere in our organisation are missed every day. And it can often happen when people transfer between wards. And so the focus of improvement was, where at the moment is the biggest challenge to us being able to get that medication to our patients, and it's at the dispensing stage. More about that shortly. And so why are we here in this RPIW? Well, we really are focusing on our patients. We're focusing on patient safety, quality and experience. We also want, through the mechanism of the Leeds improvement method, to be the best place to work. And we're challenging ourselves around what seamless and integrated care means. So this is our project form. Our boundaries were from selecting and I still can't get this language right after a week, a non-stock order sheet from an in-tray through to that medication having been dispensed and being available to deliver to the patients in our organisation. The process has allowed us to see a considerable amount of waste in this process, and so a team selected who contribute to this process as they go about their day-to-day work have been selected to support this work. In true Leeds improvement method principles, we are starting with the foundation of our work. There is no direct substitute for observation. For those of you on the journey, that's standard operations that we love. A little bit of data analysis, that's product quantity analysis. And actually, the next place to go is, how have we designed the department's layout to help this system work for us? And so that's where the team started this week. We also learned that the way the work has been designed today, that actually both types of operator, both a dispenser and an accuracy checker, their work takes considerably longer than the pace of the work coming into the department. We also have seen an interesting difference in the wider pharmacy dispensary team between those people who feel able to generate ideas for improvement and those who actually feel that those ideas for improvement they've been able to make work in their area. Hello, my name is Catherine and I'm the team lead for this RPIW week. Measurements are really important as part of improvement work. So this table shows us the baseline measurements that we had for our improvement work. So the top one is the staff walking distance, of which the baseline was 59. The lead time for the medicine to be dispensed from taking it out of the tray to being ready for delivery had an average of 26 minutes and 33 seconds with a range of 24 minutes to 115 minutes. The process as it was designed originally had 24 medicines waiting within the process, so that's a standard working process. We had 2 quality measures. The first one was the number of repeat dispensing requests, so duplicate requests for medicines, of which the baseline was 9%.
And the second one was a defect picked up at the accuracy checking stage, of which the baseline was 5%. We also looked at staff morale metrics, and the baseline was 50% of staff that work at the dispensary felt that they were able to make changes happen in their area of work. Our sponsors gave us a target to reduce the lead time of 9 minutes or less from 26.5 minutes. And the TAC time, or the number of medicines which need to be dispensed to meet the customer demand, calculated to be 67 seconds. So basically one medicine needs to be dispensed every minute to keep up with the patient demand.
Hi, my name is Emma and I'm the process owner for this improvement work. This is our value stream map. It highlights the steps in the current process from collecting an inpatient order to the medication being placed in the delivery area. We started here as work often waits in high quantities for dispensing, on average 70 pieces of work at a time. It also highlights the waste in our processes, of which the team identified during the week even more waste. Primarily the waste of motion, processing and time. We also reviewed how many medicines were required per order, and 64% of our orders were single.
Next slide. So this picture actually shows how our current processes are designed. At busy times, which is very frequent in the dispensary, staff members are advised to take 10 prescriptions and process them all in one go. But the perception behind this idea is that batch labelling or batch processing actually helps us get through the work quicker. But the question is this perception correct? Well, we will now describe how a game helped us change our mindset.
Hi, my name is Ashley and I have been a team member in this process. On the slide behind me you can see that the signature game. This involved dividing the team into 3 groups of 5. Each group was given a batch of 10 post-it notes and was asked to sign all 10 post-it notes before passing the batch on to the next team member. This was repeated through the groups until the last member of the team had finished. This took an average of 2 minutes 20 seconds for both teams to complete. The game was then repeated with the same group, the same number of post-it notes, and this time we was asked to individually sign an individual post-it note, pass it on to the next member of the team to sign. This second round took an average time of 52 seconds to finish. This is a significant improvement with a 63% reduction in time. The whole team responded in disbelief that taking one piece at a time could significantly change the time of batching.
Hello, my name's James. I've been an RPIW team member this week. As a result of playing this game, we soon bought into the methods and realised that we needed to focus our work on the location which it's undertaken and the flow of the work itself. We generated a significant number of ideas, but these were all fairly similar because of the methods that we'd all bought into previously. We were able to sort these ideas based on similarities into 3 main ideas. 2 were based on location changes, and 1 agreed idea was based on the process itself. So the location idea, it basically wanted to make the flow of the work more logical from picking up the prescription all the way through to placing it in the delivery box. And the process idea was passing from dispensing to actually check rather than before, where a medicine would be taken from dispensing and placed on another bench to be actually checked.
Hello, my name is Hayley. I've been a team member this week. So we've been left with 2 similar ideas of moving the work tray to different locations with a similar lead time of around 5 minutes. So we didn't know which one to pick. We took it to the dispensary for a vote and it was decided that it would be better to work between the robot and the delivery boxes with the work tray now in the corner of the room. We then went away, regrouped and refined this idea and thought about how we could test it without disrupting the workflow of the dispensary. We decided that the away team would conduct the work and we was left with a lead time of 3.5 minutes but no real life interruptions. So we went away again, refined it, and this time we asked the away team to do a real life test of it. We found that the lead time had increased to 7 minutes 5 seconds, however this included real life problems and still was under our sponsored target of 9 minutes or under.
Hello, my name is Jamie. I've been a team member in the Improvement Week this week. Before we started this process, we in the inpatient pharmacy were at a stage where we all thought bulk or batch labelling was quicker and more productive way of working. As a checking technician working in a busy dispensary, I can sometimes see no end of the inpatient work that has to be dispensed and checked. We have an average of 590 inpatient non-stocks each day, and if you can visualise how many of these can be in process at the same time, it can be quite daunting. We all thought batch labelling has always been a need, or so we all thought. Being involved in this improvement week has opened our eyes to change. The techniques and signature game that we used have changed our mindsets, and we realised that we needed to share this with the dispensary team for them to see the impact of single piece flow for themselves.
Hello, my name is Rachel and I've been a team member in this week. There are a few lessons that we learned about the impact of this process on the staff that were remaining in the dispensary carrying on the work. Firstly, it's important to meet people where they're at. We all find it difficult to accept change. And we realised when we talked about it that improvement is a team sport. It's not about winning or losing, and we can't please all people at the same time. It was a particular challenge in this process because the dispensary team is a particularly large team, and sometimes that meant it was difficult to communicate the messages to everybody. One of the lessons is that it's important to involve the people who actually do the work. We realised during this process that there's a historic understanding from people that change is enforced on us, whereas this method is more about doing it with the people, not to the people. We got some really good ideas from the team, from all the staff, and we realised the importance of trialling one idea at a time. We had an instinct to find the problems with one idea and talk over them quite a lot, but we needed to go and actually try it to see it. After one day of trialling it with the team in situ, the home team themselves had made a change which they felt had improved the process, but we hadn't given enough time to try it the other way, so we had to get a balance. We had to realise that it's important to include everyone and allow those ideas, but be respectful of everyone's contribution. Sometimes it's easier to see an immediate problem and just stop what you're doing, but there's actually value to seeing how the problem develops, how it impacts everybody during a longer period, and work together to identify ways to fix the problems. Another thing we learnt was about communicating with the staff who are back in the dispensary. It's important to set people up to be ready for change, and also to communicate a bit more detail about the reasons behind the changes and of the discoveries that we'd come to, which is why we tried the batch game back with the staff at home. Sometimes our excitement of the process can mean that we miss the details that are important when we pass information over.
Thank you. So, boom. I've said that quite a lot over the last 24 hours. Actually, in life. I get the brilliant opportunity of being able to give you the headlines of the metric changes that we've had this week, which Hayley has already alluded to in some of the details she's given you. So the staff walking distance has reduced from 59 as a baseline to 10 steps, which is an 83% reduction based on the changes in location. The lead time has gone from 26.5 minutes to 7 minutes and 5 seconds, with a range of 3 minutes and 25 to 22 minutes, which you will see the longest in the new process is actually shorter than the shortest in the old process, if you got that, which is a 73% reduction. And as you can see on day 2 and day 3, those numbers were lower because that was part of us testing it, and actually the 7 minutes is in the real world with the staff doing it in the new process in the real world with the interruptions, etc. We've designed a process that went from 24 pieces of work being in the process at any one time to 6 now being in the process at any one time. So we're not down to single piece flow yet, but the significance of the change is 75%, so we've certainly improved it. Because we've focused on the layout and the single piece flow, we haven't done any remeasure, we haven't really done any work or remeasures yet on the quality metrics, but we will keep those on the programme, and we will look at those as the next 30, 60, 90 days go by, along with the looking at staff morale metrics as well.
So what lessons have this team learned this week? They on Monday started a journey of discovery, and it's important because we all have our own story in our work, that we listen to everybody's stories. A common theme emerging in the trust. We talk a lot about issues and how to resolve them away from where the issues actually occur, and we need to talk a lot less and PDSA a lot more. We had a great moment when we were sharing feedback with the home team in the dispensary, where in the moment a member of staff said, you see, when you generate an idea, you just open a can of worms. And so actually we put a flip chart on the wall saying can of worms, and as they worked through the real world process on the Thursday, they had to put down all the issues that they found with the process on the can of worms flip chart. So we haven't lost sight of them, there were a lot of them, and we need to work on them. I think some reflection for all of us, the way we process work might create unnecessary pressure for staff, because sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. There's an outstanding prioritisation piece to sort out. There is still a process within the dispensary where work fluctuates between do we work on discharge work or do we work on inpatient work? And so we move staff between those two processes so that they stop working on one or the other of those processes. One of our reflections is it's really easy to say we're going to work on a single process and detach it from everything else. But the reality of this process was it was intrinsically linked to other processes in the dispensary, and that's making it a little bit more challenging to unpick. Ideas need to be implemented as a team, otherwise they fail. You might not agree with an idea, but if you're a team player, you might just need to go along with it and see the benefits of it. If your work if everybody's work improves as a consequence of an improvement, it's really important to be a team player. I was also reflecting personally that we as leaders may often be involved in the very processes that are up for discussion and improvement. We need to let go of traditionally accepted processes. We're trying to help you see your processes in a different way, and we haven't helped you traditionally look at your processes in a different way. So my final reflection I'd like to leave leaders with is I've developed a 3-step rule. Listen with fascination, I stole that from Michael West. Observe with curiosity and present every day as if you've got something to learn. Thank you, this is why it's really tough at the end of one of these weeks. I can't thank you enough to the dispensary team here in Gledhow Wing. They've presented us with our challenges, they've had their own, but they are working the new process, so thank you very much for your support. We also went and provided feedback to the pharmacy ward teams to continue to engage with them, and they've been exceptionally positive about the potential impact of these changes. Deborah, you're here, Helen's on holiday. In terms of your leadership of this work in the dispensary, thank you for your support this week. We couldn't have done it without you. We also learned this week that the accuracy checking technicians are a scarce resource, and it takes a long time to develop those skills. They are involved in just more than the inpatient dispensing process, and we've affected their work, so thank you for continuing to support the improvements. David Lander and Richard Isles from IT, we are coming up with IT solutions, but we're trying to just give it a little bit more time, but they are actively working to support us implement those. Danielle, whose picture you can see here, has been a member of this team all week, but unfortunately she just got called out at the last minute because one of her children's been taken ill at school. Liz and Una, what would we have done without you? Your unfailing support this week to keep us on track has been exemplary, thank you. To my KPO facilitation team, thanks for keeping us in tea and coffee, milk, clean cups and replenishing supplies, thank you. Matt, who's not here, but I think he's somewhere in the audience. Matt helped with all the setup for this work, but has had some holiday this week. But his contribution to setting this up was significant. Catherine is embarking on her team lead certification. This is where I'm going to struggle. You are amazing, and you have really got to grips with this work. And thank you for your unfailing support over the course of this week.
Quite emotional. Yes, it is emotional, but so you had a good week. Yeah? Well done, really good. And thank you for reporting out, that was great. Loads of good stuff here. So, but this is not the Q&A session, that will come later. And I'm sure colleagues will have questions, but really good. So you're released now. Thank you. Matt has some questions later. Well done, guys. Thank you. Okay. Excellent. Right. So we're now come to the point in in Report Out where I'd like to congratulate our Lean for Leaders certification. So the first one of those is Steve Bush, who of course you all know as Clinical Director for our ESM CSU. You've dragged yourself away from our very busy ED, Steve, to come. So come forward, this is your moment. There we go. Smile for the camera.
That was it, really smile. One more there. Two more.
Right, well done. Thanks, mate. Well done, well done. Excellent. And next we've got Ian McBrady, who of course is the General Manager for Head and Neck. Ian, if you want to come forward and see your... Right, thank you very much. Now, just to say, this is what such is the thoroughness and attention to detail of our Chief Medical Officer, that she has informed me that she has to complete another one more bit, and has asked that we do not award the certificate until that is done. So full credit to your I know she will be on this and do this. So we'll look forward to that moment. And I'd like to congratulate Roberta. Now, Roberta, are you here? Roberta?
I think I've just texted her. She was in Gledowing, so we might want to go and come back to her when she comes back.
When she comes, okay, right. In which case, we will move on to the acute general surgical admissions value stream, RPIW 3, surgical outflow. So if the team could come down and present what I know is really important work for us across the trust. And we've got Miss Sarah and Michael. Great.
Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Sarah and I am one of the process owners of this value stream.
Hi, my name is Michael Adams. I'm a ward environment porter on the surgical assessment unit and I'm also a team member on this RPIW week.
So what we would like to share with you today is our 60-day report out in our acute surgical admissions value stream.
So our RPIW week was focused on patient flow through SAU and to the acute surgical wards. A significant delay was identified between a patient being admitted and the patient leaving SAU. Another issue which was highlighted was the fact that a huge number of patients had a lot of communication problems between themselves and the staff as messages weren't getting across to patients, which it's important that happens. This is our TPR. As you can see, the lead time, it did go down. So the lead time for this process was measured at 5 hours and 50 minutes at the baseline. We were set a target of 1 hour and 42 minutes, which we thought was a big step at the time, and it turned out that it actually was. We were unable to achieve our target at 60 days, and our lead time increased to 6 hours and 15 minutes. So during our initial week of measures, we were able to achieve the target comfortably. However, this was when we had efficient completion of EDANs for the patients that were being discharged, so we could get patients from the wards onto the discharge lounge, leaving empty beds for the patients that were on SAU. Our newspaper items, we introduced regular huddles to SAU, which are working well and are being carried out every day. These huddles give all staff on the unit a chance to come together and discuss anything that needs to be highlighted. Everyone is made aware of any unwell patients on the unit and any outstanding jobs which need completing as a priority. Further to this, a 6 AM huddle has been introduced, which also seems to be working really well. An issue which has been highlighted within the huddles is the fact that doctors often struggle to make themselves available for the huddles due to their busy schedule throughout the day. sisters on the unit are making sure that doctors are informed of any unwell patients on the unit and that any issues have been highlighted to them so that they can complete any task necessary. Despite not decreasing our lead time, patient communication has vastly improved. We know this as we've received a lot of positive comments and feedback through our friends and family surveys, which are handed out daily on the unit. Some of the positive comments that we've received you can see on the screen. It's just quite nice to see the reason that you're actually doing this, and it does make a difference to the patients.
So whilst we're thrilled that patients are having a better experience, we're still really not progressing and not moving forward with our lead time, so that's something that has really become our focus. So having re-reviewed our standard work that we've put in place, during our RPIW week we had a handover where we had the Band 3 flow coordinator identifying patients from the evening before who were suitable for discharge and informing the discharge lounge. Those patients were then discussed at their various huddles and ward board rounds, and discharge was put in place. Once the patients were ready to go, the ward environment porter was then informed and the patients would then be transferred. So the ward environment porter is normally contacted by the Band 3, but we've also realised that sometimes the Band 3 flow coordinator may not be available on that day, and we only have ward environment porter as well, so that sometimes made things difficult. So perhaps there has been a bit of confusion as to the standard work and who is most appropriate to be handing over to. So it's a bit of confusion perhaps there, which may have led to some difficulties in following through. It is also possible that there may have been maybe a few too many people involved, and so perhaps we need to reassess our standard work and try to simplify it a bit more, just to try to create a more seamless journey for the patient. Certainly we find that that's something that we will need to look and change. Part of the standard work that wasn't agreed, and still not yet, was the timely completion of the EDANs. So again, whilst we had a full complement of a team during the RPIW week, we had an FY1 readily available with pharmacy input. Patients could be sent to the discharge lounge and have their EDANs done, and the bed would be made available for the patients awaiting on SAU. That availability of the team has been somewhat difficult, but we are now hoping to enter a period where that will no longer be so much of an issue. We're hoping to perhaps involve our advanced clinical practitioners within this role. Myself, I'm hoping to take on the responsibility where I can oversee this in more depth, and I would be able to be contacted by the wards should there be any issues in having EDANs completed. So it's just a bit more of education of our teams in a respectful way. We're having all of these issues, and it's a really topical discussion, and it needs to be had because it's to address this to make things better. Just a few facts for you to know about the SAU within LTHT. It is the busiest surgical unit within the UK. It's also a tertiary referral centre, and it sees patients from all over geographically. We also have less and less trusts doing out-of-hours specialist work, which means that sends more into our remit. The current SAU was created 6 years ago, and the aim was to accommodate for 30 patients within a 24-hour period. The reality is that we're seeing 90 patients within that 24 hours, so we need to accept that we've perhaps not quite got the infrastructure in place. For those of you not familiar with NELA, that is the National Emergency Laparotomy Audit, which has to be completed by all surgeons. We have that data that is collected, and in the number of laparotomies performed, Leeds is top, coming in at 488 within a calendar year. The next down from that was Nottingham, coming in at 299, so 200 laparotomies less. So you can see the amount of work that's being done. We also have ambulatory patients coming through the SAU, which is probably not quite the right setting for them, so that's something else that we need to be considering. Bed availability is an ongoing issue, and being mindful that we have been in Silver Command, so those are ongoing challenges that we are facing. So has this been a fail? I wouldn't like to call it a fail, because I don't think it is. One thing that my KPO colleague shared with me sort of resonated with me during the RPIW week, that fail isn't really a fail, it's a first time in learning. And I really like that, and I think that's what this has been for us. And we are 60 days on, and we would like to think that we are going to continue to make those improvements, but this is a process, and that's the plan. So the future for us, in terms of what we do in addition, is that we have to look at the electronic world, the digital world, sorry. So we are moving towards documentation on SAU to be done electronically, so it's available on PPM, and the idea of that would be is you would have all that information to hand, that would populate the EDAN and hopefully speed up that process. We've also had discussions with pharmacy about setting up criteria-led discharge. So the idea would be patients who come in for procedures, simple abscesses or appendixes, could hopefully have all that information completed in theatre, and the idea would be is that patient could then be discharged. I've also invited myself to their PCALs, so that's the Patient Care Access Line, so just to get a bit more information about the method of referral and the mode of referrals of the patients coming through SAU in that volume. So we will be having that discussion to see if there's any assistance that we can offer. A separate pathway for the ambulatory patients, which is something that is ongoing. And alternative models. I'm not quite sure I can see, but the matron for acute wards and my co-process owner made a visit to Bradford and visited their discharge lounge and commended the work that they were doing. So there is good stuff out there, and we just need to maybe take that on board and learn from our neighbouring colleagues. I went to a conference yesterday, an LTHT medical conference, talking about excellence in Leeds, and I walked away from that very inspired. And I think some of the key learning for me was that the amount of work that we do must be patient-centred, but the importance of respectful behaviours and civility. And one thing we walked away with was knowing that that has a direct effect on the patient, the delivery of our care, and the direct effect on patient outcome. So this is certainly something that we want to continue to address in our methods. And there's certainly a cultural growth, and from this organisation I see that that is definitely leadership and collaboration, and I'm hoping that we can continue to try to do that. Some very quick thank yous out there for all this work that we've been trying to do, SAU for all their efforts, and the acute wards and the team members, KPO for their endless encouragement, the junior doctors, the pharmacy for helping us set that up, the discharge lounge for their involvement, Dr. Ode, who's our executive sponsor, who I'm learning a great deal from, and I'm finding her really quite inspiring, so thank you very much. And my colleagues up in the corner there, the Clinical Leadership Fellows, for their ongoing support as well, and hoping that we'll continue our work. Thank you very much.
Well done, Sarah and Michael, that was great. And I think some really important messages, we'll save some questions for the end, but some important messages about the point about civility. I know there was a very powerful speaker yesterday at the medical conference about that issue that a number of you have commented on, which is great because it really ties into this work. And also the message about first attempt in learning, which is a consistent message we get from Helen and the KPO. Completely, if this were sort of easy, you know, but we know this stuff is tough because we're making real change. So keep going. It's really, really good to share the challenges as well as the successes, and we celebrate both. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on now to pharmacy outpatients, and we've got the team that have been working hard. on the stationery project in outpatient administration. So guys, if you'd like to come down and join me at the front. And if you could introduce yourselves, that would be great. Okay, over to you.
So, good afternoon everybody, I'm Kirsty Slade and I'm the facilitator for this project. It's a joint project between both outpatients and pharmacy. As part of our lead project, we chose the outpatient admin stationery cupboards at the LGI site to complete a 5S audit. We chose the 5S tool because it is simple to use. It's effective and it helps us achieve what we set out to do. The Virginia Mason Institute are 18 years into their journey and have said if they were to start again, they would spend 2 years completing 5S audits, as it is a fundamental part of removing waste.
Okay, as a part of the 5S audit, we commenced with the SAW. Outpatient admin had 2 separate locations for their stationery. We identified that this could be condensed into one area, saving both time and money. On the next slide, we will show you how much stock we disposed of. We disposed of approximately 5 unwanted cages of unwanted items by red tagging items in both areas. We gave 5 filing cabinets to another area, making use of the Trust Talkback Forum. The homeless items were found a new home, and the obsolete items were disposed of appropriately.
We simplified all items from the 2 areas to one centralised space nearer to the outpatient admin offices. Now we only have one area which is tidy, labelled up and stock control marked. This is spot checked on a regular basis to ensure that it is kept clean and tidy and everything is in the designated area. We created SOPs to sustain the new processes put in place and to ensure they are followed by all. These have been placed in the stationery cupboard and are easily visible to everyone. The supervisors have been sent a copy to refer back to. Now let's look at the figures.
We have put procedures in place to prevent over-ordering of the stationery. Each team was responsible for ordering their own items, which caused over-ordering. Each team supervisor now communicates more effectively to ensure that we are only purchasing the stock that is required at that time. This has saved approximately £10,000 over 1 year. We disposed of obsolete items and rehomed many of the items that weren't required. The stock that had been over-ordered has been used, but by putting it into the new SOPs, it has reduced dramatically. By moving all of the stock to one area situated just outside the prep office, we have reduced the amount of time spent travelling to the Room B, which was situated quite away from the office. The estimation of time and motion is derived from the assumption that all the 40 clerks within the outpatient team would go to Room B once a month and spend 20 minutes on doing so. This adds up to 13.5 hours per month. Now if we multiply this by 12 months, we get 160 hours per year. Adding the cost of this at £9 per hour, we have saved a total of £1,440 a year.
We have put in place some visual management aids, instructing staff to inform the supervisor if stock of a particular item is running low. We have also created and put in place an inventory list that states which items are stored in each cupboard. This has already improved the communication between the teams and the supervisors, helping sustain the decrease in over-ordering. And this is our team who made it all happen. Unfortunately, Bernie can't be with us today. She had other arrangements, yes. But yeah, there we all are. We have all worked very hard to make this project completed in time. We have all come from different departments within the Trust, and this is the first time the project in Lean has been completed outside of inpatient pharmacy. We are all very proud of the work we have completed on this project and the skills and knowledge we have acquired to continue on this path. We would like to take this opportunity to thank the people who made it all possible. Denise Wood, you can also see on the slide, our coach and cheerleader, Matt Spence, once again, for his continuous support, his advice and enthusiasm. Our teams, who have had to work even harder than usual to cover for our absence. Our line managers and higher management for making this course available for us. And of course, our friends and family, because we just can't leave them out.
Fantastic. Sorry.
So Paul has already begun implementing this improvement in a further stationery cupboard within outpatient admin on St James's site. It would be a fantastic project to roll out across the whole trust. Imagine how many stationery cupboards there are across the whole trust. Thank you.
Well done. That was great. Really good, and delighted to see the Lean education and development and putting that into practice and the 5S work. It's great. So I'm sure colleagues will have questions. So perhaps if you join everyone else who's presented, and I think I'm going to ask Yvette in a moment to MC the Q&A, but really good work, and I think it's a great idea that we can spread this, because looking at the waste, it's astonishing, isn't it? And the cost savings as well. Fantastic. So thanks very much. I'm just going to check if Roberta is here. Hi, Roberta. Great. So I'm going to ask you to come forward and receive your certificate, your Advanced Lean Training Certificate. So many congratulations. Great, well done, brilliant. So, if you would excuse me, I'm going to go and jump on the shuttle. I've got to go and see the boss of the university. But Yvette's going to do the Q&A. We've had a great report out today, and I'm sure there'll be questions. And in fact, strong showing from pharmacy today. It's been a bit of a week for pharmacy for me to see the great work that's been going on in both the aseptic units at both St James and the LGI in terms of keeping the shop going. Total parental nutrition and so on. So that, I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions about the work that both teams have done, and indeed the continuing work in really important part of what we do for our patients in the acute general surgical admissions value stream, and of course any questions for our Lean for Leaders or Advanced Lean graduates. Yeah. Okay, right, there.
Okay, yeah. Right, okay. So it's been a fabulous report now, hasn't it? I am amazed at the changes that you've managed to make in your RPI items. So well done, everybody, and congratulations to everybody who has graduated, who's done their 5S. But now it's open to questions. So who have we got questions for? Steve?
Just a question about the batch game. For those who are involved with it, was it one that was, we think we know that this is going to show something, so we're going to use it as a demonstration that this works, or was this we genuinely don't know if batching is a good thing or a bad
thing? They're just sharing who's going to answer. Right, Jamie. Go on, Jamie. Stand up.
So the reason for the batching game, the signatures on the post-it notes, was to simulate real-world inpatient non-stops. Currently, for the process, we have non-stops which you short, and it was our consensus that we picked up 10 and labelled, dispensed, and then checked all of those. And the issues we saw were, if you've got 10 By the time you get to your turn, when you pack those for X amount of time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and the checking bench is empty, so the checkers are standing around doing other things. Then all of a sudden, those 10 items come through, and you've got to check through each of those items and send them away. And if you can visualise, that's just one person. So if you've got 6 people doing that, you've got nothing, so then all of a sudden you've got 60 things to check through. And we always thought that it was the best way to do it. And even in the past, I've literally stood for 2 or 3 hours and labelled hundreds of non-stocks, just labelled and labelled and labelled, and passed those on, thinking that's the best way, thinking that's the best thing to do. So the signatures of the sheets represented that. We signed each one as it went, passed the whole thing on to see the timing, and then change it to one at a time to visually represent the one at a time single piece of work.
So did it come as a real surprise then when you did it again? You thought actually this will show we're doing the right thing, but when you did it, you all went, oh my god.
Yeah, I actually did that.
There was complete silence.
Yeah.
I think disbelief is the word. It took a little while over the course of the week. It's ATO refers to it as the blind spot in maths.
Right.
But there was genuine disbelief, and it took probably the first couple of days to really believe that actually that was quicker.
That sounds like a key element to that sort of recognition, got us a better way.
Yeah. And just to add to that, we do a lot of batching, don't we, in healthcare? We do sort of batch, but reward round is batching. You know, there's a lot of, we do lots of that. So I think we're ingrained in that as a potential way of doing the work. Yeah. So the whole concept of one piece, like doing one thing at a time, I think within the whole system is probably new to us all. Yeah, so a fascinating outcome.
Right. Okay, any other questions? Yeah.
For the RPIW, we found it. What was the biggest challenge of the week?
Me again.
Go on, guys.
I don't understand that. Communication from the home team to the away team. So I am a dispenser, that's my job. But when you go back to your team, they don't see you as one of them anymore. So it's like you're dictating to them and you're trying to prove that we're trying to better everyone rather than dictate to them, if that makes sense.
I think it's a really important point, isn't it?
And I think trying to help the home team to also understand the fact that, you know, the single flow actually works. Because I think one thing that we've learned from this whole team, or this whole, week, is that we should have played that game with the home team right from day one. But because we waited a bit, you know, there was a bit of time in between the time we did play the game with the team. It was a bit harder for the home team to accept it, you know, when we told them. So that's one lesson that we've learned.
Very good. Ian?
Probably a question for Catherine and Matt as well, actually, in pharmacy this week. I'm part of a value stream which has been challenged to think about its own sustainability in terms of taking work forward with increasing amounts of support from the KPO and taking more responsibility to do it ourselves within the CSU. It sounds like actually you've kind of taken that leap already without actually being part of value streams. I just wondered if you could reflect a bit on your experience of having the confidence in employing those methods and leading some of the work without perhaps the same intensive support that the value streams are relying on at the moment from the KPO.
So I would say that I've had intensive support. Intensive care and support from Helen throughout the process. I think there's real benefits of people within the CSUs doing our own improvement work. And I think there's a question that we've got around how we develop that, but also how we keep the outside eyes potential in this as well. So my sense is that I couldn't have done this with, well, I couldn't have done this without Helen anyway, I think that's probably a given, but that we need to not lose sight of the fact that if we're in the CSU, we're embedded in those processes already, and it's very difficult then to be able to take yourself out of it. So I think there's something about how we develop this as a concept within our organisation, with KPO support, but without losing that other view of it. Not sure. For discussion, and would welcome your view on that as we move this forward.
So I would say having Catherine as a colleague has been really beneficial for us. So for the first maybe 6 months of when we first started this value, we just worked together and bounced off each other, and because we understood the process, we were able to come up against challenges, and it was difficult, but just having each other just to keep each other motivated and going was really beneficial. So if you've got anybody in your CSU that has the knowledge of or some understanding of the Leeds improvement method, use them as a counsellor maybe, somebody to help you and support you and keep, because this is really difficult. It's been discussed how challenging this work can be, and just having somebody to speak with is a really important aspect as well.
But it sounds like, Matt, there were two of you with significant training in lean methodology that have supported one another and bounced ideas. So I guess, Ian, how many people have you got now with ALT?
We've got one qualified and one in training, and I think we've got 3 certified lean believers now in CSU with 1 or 2 more to enroll. So we've got a small group of people, core I suppose, that we can build that around. But yeah, I think that's the challenge that we've been set is to think about actually how do we start to make this part of the business as usual cycle of the CSU rather than waiting for the next kind of need to happen before we engage in our next improvement work.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're quite fortunate, because we actually developed a quality improvement practitioner role within our CSU, somebody who's already registering, so somebody who understands our work but works very closely with the KPO team. And I don't know if other CSUs have on that. That's really important. I think that's
So I think there are some CSUs that have gone down that route. I certainly know theatres have got a quality improvement practitioner. I think that in certain aspects of pathology they have with it, but I'll stop there because I think I'm now talking beyond my knowledge base, but it's a very well-made point. Yeah.
I think it's a great discussion to have though, because we're getting a sort of feels like we're on a bit of a tipping point. We're getting a growing set of capability, aren't we? And I'm loving the questions going on between the different teams about how have you done it, and I think it's really brilliant.
And you know, Catherine, you could go and be some outside eyes in head and neck could come and be some outside eyes in farms. You know, the more people we get trained in the method, the more that we can support one another and be both internal improvement facilitators as well as between CSUs.
Joe? Yeah, I wanted to ask the admin team actually a similar question. Were you doing advanced lean, or did you have 5S training? How did you as a group get your training on what you were doing?
It looks like the team on me. So we've for a number of years we've been employing an external company called Lean Education and Development, and we've been, cohort number 7 or 8 that have been coming in and facilitating. We facilitated some training around some basic 5S training and other continuous improvement training, and then that's supported by myself and what's Chris Hunt in a previous life of Chris, and then we just go and help the team. They decide they do some training and then they have a project at the end of the training. And that's the project.
So this was particularly on 5S?
So the team decided that.
Yeah.
Sophie, did you have your hand up?
It's quite a general question, just to for everybody's what everybody knows, is that the SAU project talked about it was quite tough having so many people involved in the process, and maybe it has that added to some complexities. And so one of the farms team was saying actually it may have caused maybe some barriers between the wider farms team if they weren't involved and some people were. So it's maybe how we all have to make sure that everybody at the ground roots has an opportunity to share or say or give an idea. I've got this to move this project forward. How do people see that kind of going forward?
Any response? I'll give you some thoughts that I've been having recently, which is that we have talked about CSUs perhaps developing their own guiding teams to oversee quality improvement and the use of the method within CSUs. One of the things I've been thinking about is should CSUs start to have some of their own report out sessions, because there's quite a limited number of staff who were able to come to this Friday report out. And I think that you probably do, maybe you might not call it report out, but I think probably through some of your own team meetings you do cascade some of these improvements. But again, it's how do the frontline staff get to hear about them, because hearing the stories, hearing the report outs, you also hear about some of the barriers, don't you? And some of the difficulties. And actually, if you all become home team members now, you'll be much more receptive and much more understanding of your away team, won't you? So I think perhaps that's another development we need to think about. But in terms of access to people understanding the method and getting the training, there are loads of sessions available, as you know, and you don't have to, you know, there's lots more than Lead for Leaders. So understanding value and waste, 5S, those are all sessions that are run regularly throughout the trust. Does that sort of answer your question, Sophie?
Maybe. It does, I suppose. It's how everybody has the opportunity to raise their idea, maybe. It sounds like the pharmacy saying that some virus should go away because one team had ideas and one team maybe didn't get a chance to say their ideas. But then at the same time...
Do you mean within an RPIW week?
Yeah, and then with the SNU saying there's a lot of people involved, and maybe that makes it quite difficult. So it's how you balance the two of giving everybody, whoever anybody is, the opportunity to say, actually, if you try this, without it making it more complicated that you end up struggling. Does that make sense?
Okay, Helen?
I think it's complicated, and we do a lot of work at the start of our weeks around respectful behaviour, and actually just exploring what it means to be a team player. And so it's all these different layers of work continuing to go on and being reinforced that ultimately contributes to a step change improvement in morale, people's engagement with the work, people's engagement with each other. But the big thing this team really grasped this week was about teamwork, and they had lots of really good reflections on where they'd done it well and where they'd not done it so well. And so it just is, you just have to keep on keeping on. It's a bit of dogged determination as well. But as teams, we really need to explore what being a team player is. And sometimes it might just mean you've spent time generating an idea. I'm going to help you embed your idea so I can learn it and contribute to it for myself, rather than judging and criticising it because I wasn't involved in it. And that's just going to take time and progress and development.
Okay.
Oh, I love that, what you've just said. Sorry. What you've just said, if we were to put that under collaboration in our values, so you know we've got the behaviours sitting underneath the values, that would... Somebody got that? Yeah, we got that. We got that.
Okay, last couple of questions.
Okay, it's more of a comment. So as sponsors of the RPIW, I just want to say a huge thank you. They've done a fantastic job, lots of work. Having Helen there was a gift, so thank you very much. What you bring to an RPIW is tremendous, and we should all recognise that, so thank you. But the point I'd like to maybe bring out again at a future maybe shout out or something is that we've talked within the surgical assessment unit around patient flow and how important that is. Discharge is really important. It's important, Steve, that we get this all moving. But it did cause a significant challenge to our workforce, where we're sitting and we know that we need to support our organisational flow in terms of our discharge medicines, but equally we have patients in bed who are sick who need medicines quickly, and we are really challenged by that priority.
Yeah, and understand that, you know. Anybody else want to say anything? I just wanted to emphasise what Nasira and Michael said, because I think perhaps some of the things that we're beginning to show through the method are really that we don't have enough capacity to do today's work today. And that is going to be a challenge for us as leaders to say, how are we going to try and solve that problem? And it's a problem for the whole NHS, but maybe it impacts in certain areas more than others. So absolutely first attempt is not fail. It's absolutely learning. So, so thank you very much everybody. It's been a really good report out again, and well done to everybody, and have a nice weekend.